Well, hello everyone. Good evening. It is 7:06 on Friday evening. It's February 4th. You believe we're already 4 days into February. And I'm hoping that you have had a really good day. I'm hoping that it's been a peaceful day and a relaxing day, and really I hope it's been an enjoyable day. So we've been doing these Relate Well Live with Dr. Rick Marks. I'm trying to do some every week just to encourage and support, to inform, to inspire you to live the best life ever and have the most healthy relationships so that you can live for us. And as we say in our world, when us wins, you both win. When us loses, you both will lose. And the more mature way of living life is living for us. That's right. It's living for us. All right. So we're actually streaming on 3 platforms right now, live at the same time. I got Instagram, I've got Facebook, and we've got YouTube. All right. So we're streaming live on all 3. I will be monitoring the comment sections on all 3 of these. So if you don't mind, if you are hanging in there with me, if you're listening in, what I would really like for you to do is just kind of throw out a thought. If you got a comment, make a comment. If you have a question, feel free to ask a question. And, let's make this a dialogue rather than me just kind of lecturing here. And let's have a conversation. And I know it's Friday evening early, and many of you are probably out having dinner, or you may be out on a date with your loved one. All right, and enjoy that date if you are. For those of you listening, let's go ahead and let's have a talk about 5 relationship red flags. That's right, 5 relationship red flags. A lot of people are married and they keep hoping for the best. They keep trying to get the best out of their partner. They're trying to be the best partner, and nothing seems to be working, and you feel stuck. And when you feel stuck, you don't know what to do. So you do what you know to do, and you don't know what you don't know, but you do know what you don't know. So you keep trying to do what you know to do, and then you realize something you didn't know, and you go research that, and you try and implement that, and you feel stuck. And you can stay in a marriage and feel stuck for many, many years, right? And when you feel stuck over time, you start to feel, do I love you? Do they love me? You start to create conversation in your head when you feel stuck. You start to doubt whether you're going to make it. You start to lose a sense of hope, and in time you can feel helpless and hopeless. We're here at Relate Well to make sure you don't ever get to that place. That's right. We don't want you ever getting to that place. So then, tonight we're going to be talking about 5 relationship red flags that if you see these patterns on an ongoing, consistent basis, got it? It's a red flag. It's like someone firing a shot across the bow, as we say in the Navy, right? Somebody's firing a warning shot going, hey, take notice. Listen up. When the Bible uses the word verily, verily, it's like, hey, listen, attune, pay attention, focus. This is something you need to be considering. This is something you don't need to overlook. A lot of people, they want to trust their feelings, and they want to trust what their brain tells them. Oh, it's not a big deal. Oh, he's just the way. Oh, she's just that way. Oh, this is just a bad time of the year for them. No, it isn't. It's a warning sign. It's a red flag. So tonight, we're going to talk about 5 relationship red flags. If you see these things on an ongoing basis, it's one of the things that should make you go, Remember Arsenio Hall, the comedian? He always did the segment called Things That Make You Go, These are things that make you go, All right, are you ready? Number one red flag. If your partner continually bashes you, puts you down, insults you. If you're remarried, they bash your ex, tear down your ex, tear down the stepkids. If this person continually invalidates you, holds contempt for you, criticizes you, always finds the negative more often than not, you're trying to be the best version of you and they can find nothing good in you. If you see that in a person, that's a red flag. Did you get that? That's a red flag. And that's a person who doesn't have the ability to live and be grateful. That's a person who doesn't have the ability and doesn't want to look at the good things in life. That's the kind of person that would rather tear you down than take a look in the mirror. That's a person who basically it doesn't want to take responsibility. You see, to take responsibility means I have to own some things. I don't want to own nothing. These people don't want to own anything. So if there's a problem, court can't be them. It has to be you. The problem with these people is it's what some people in the field of psychology call the not me syndrome. It's not me. It's not me. It's you. Something happened. It's not me. Something break wasn't me. You get hurt wasn't me. And if I did do something, it's because you caused me to do it. See, it's not me. It is really, really immature to live life that way. Mature people take responsibility. Mature people are able to find good things in others. Mature people live a life of balance. It's an old phrase, blessed are the balanced. These kinds of people don't live a life of balance. They live their life in the prism of the relationship. The relational prism that they live through is I'm right, you're wrong. And so it's always going to be tearing down, invalidating, demeaning you. I always say this way: if you're tearing someone down that much and you can't find anything good with them, then it only begs the most logical question: what did you marry them for? What did you marry them for? I mean, if they're so bad and so terrible, it seems to me you need to get away from them. Because why would you want to be around someone who's as bad as you claim they are, who's dysfunctional as you claim they are? You see, if they're that bad, you need to get away. And here's the other piece of it. If you're living with someone who treats you that way and you stay in it, you're making a choice to stay in a relationship with someone who really doesn't value you, who doesn't honor you. And it begs the bigger question: what is it about you that doesn't respect yourself enough to stand up for yourself? What is it about you that has such poor boundaries where you couldn't say, you know what? I may not be perfect, but no one will talk to me this way. No one will treat me this way. If you don't love yourself, how can others love you well? One thing that I've learned in life is that people who respect themselves will not let others disrespect them. People who respect themselves treat others respectfully. Same time, they don't allow people to treat them in disrespectful ways. Why? That would say a lot more about me, that I would let you treat me that way. You see, this not me syndrome basically says I'm not at fault for anything. Everyone else is. Think about the person who bashes all the time, bash your ex, bash your kids, bash you, bash what you do, constantly tear down, denigrate you. It actually shows a lot more about who they are. But you might say, well, Dr. Rick, I love them. That's all right. I'm not saying you don't love someone like that. It's still a red flag about who they are, though. And just because you love someone doesn't mean you allow people to mistreat you, to disrespect you. You ever heard of the term boundaries before? If you haven't, get the book Boundaries by Dr. Cloud and Townsend, and have a good read. Boundaries are the fundamentals of healthy relationships. And the idea of boundaries comes from what I call systems theory, family systems theory. And so one of the first red flag we're covering is the person who bashes you, invalidates you, tears you down, will attack your ex, attack your kids, whatever. You're never good enough. They don't take responsibility because they're not fault for anything. You are. That's a red flag. That's a red flag. The second red flag I call, why? Look at me. Why? Look at me. This is the red flag of whenever something happens, even if it's not bad, they're always telling you, look at me, look at me. I don't want to look at you, but you're going to look at me. Now, a lot of times people have this idea of focusing on themselves because they're anxious or nervous, they're deeply insecure, or they have a tendency to be controlling. In the extreme form, they're narcissists, right? The idea behind why I look at me is I am so insecure. I need you to look at me so that I can be encouraged, so I can be secure, so I can be accepted, so I can feel approved, so I can feel loved, so I can feel validated. The problem is, it is all looking at you because when your partner wants you to look at them, you don't have the ability. It's like they come home, your partner comes home, and you want to share with them some of the things that have gone on in your day. And as you start to share, they turn the conversation back on them. They turn the conversation back to them. And then next thing you know, your thoughts and feelings are just invalidated. They're overlooked. Why? Because they don't have the ability to look at you. Their insecurities and ego is all about them. And when someone is constantly getting you to look at them, you could say it's pride in the very overall umbrella sense, in the general sense. But in the end, it's an insecurity. It's a fear they won't be noticed. It's an unhealthy way of trying to get approval and acceptance, attention. You know, healthy people operate from humility, but to live a life of humility means you already have to be secure within yourself. You have to be okay with your strengths and your weaknesses. That's the powerful thing about living a mature life. And this is emotional maturity, by the way, is to live that way. You have to be okay with not being okay. I always say it this way: when you get to a place in your life that it's okay to not be okay, you'll be okay. See, most people aren't okay with not being okay. So they do things and act in certain ways in order to feel okay. But in the end, you're hurting others along the way. Because in your attempt to feel okay, to feel accepted, feel approved, to feel appreciated, to get attention, you harm people along the way, not knowing that you're harming them because your focus is all looking at yourself. It's like a form of taking your emotional needs from others because of your deep insecurities. You know, when you go home and your spouse is hurting, what they're really saying to you is, do you care that I'm hurting? And do you care enough to know me? Do you care enough to know me? You know, intimacy at the emotional level requires you wanting to know another person. Sadly, the relationship red flag here has to do with I don't want to know you, but I do want you to know me. And because I want you to know me and I don't want to know you, I'm not going to listen to you, but you have to listen to me. And this is why the why look at me red flag is so destructive because it takes all the attention off of you, your hurts, your thoughts, your views, your opinions, your struggles, and they place it right back on them. And you feel like, is there something wrong? Can I have a thought? Can I have a feeling? Does anything that I say mean anything to you? And the answer is no. No. Because the why look at me red flag is just what it is. It's all about you and your partner your partner, the person that you're talking to, they don't care about your thoughts and feelings, but you're going to care about mine. And that's the problem with the way I look at me. It invalidates the other person's thoughts and feelings and puts all the attention back on oneself. Now, the third relationship red flag is when people make decisions, when the person makes a decision without regard for your desires, your wants, or inputs. It's when people make decisions, when your partner is deciding things without regard for your desires, your wants, or your input. When someone is constantly spending money the way they want, doing things around the house, making decisions about parenting, uh, um, making decisions that affects the relationship, but you don't get any input, that's another red flag. Basically, that person's posture is saying, I'm going to do what I want, when I want, as I want, and no one will tell me what to do. That is a person who truly lives for themselves and does not value us. And one of the core things about our work and relate well, and particularly around marriage, is that the most important part of a relationship is us. Us wins, you both win. Us loses, you both lose. It takes two to make it us and only one to kill it. But that idea of usness requires humility. Humility is a very powerful way to live life. People who are prideful are really weak. They are. Humble people don't need to go around being noticed. They don't need to control others. They don't need to demand from others what they want. Humble people are nurturing. Humble people are caring. Humble people actually operate from compassion. Prideful people will hurt people along the way. They tend towards defensiveness. They tend towards insensitivity. And if they hurt you, your job is to get over it. You see, I don't care about your thoughts. I don't care about your wants. I don't care about it. That's this red flag. And I'm going to make decisions for us and for you without your opinion, without your input. I remember the guy a few years ago who always had a tendency to spend money. And one day he went and bought a brand new truck without any input from his wife. We had a pattern of spending lots of money without any input from his wife. And she finally left him because of it. Why? Because he disrespected those decisions you're making require both of you to make. I always like to say it this way. In all relationships, there's a realm of decision making that belongs to me. And then there's a realm of decision making that belongs to my wife. So in marriage, I get to decide things, and Luella gets to decide things. Now, let me say this. When you make a decision that is not yours to make, you will be in a power struggle. You see, power struggles, my friends, are really about decision making. You're making a decision that's not yours to make. Example, early in my marriage, that first year and a half, 2 years, my wife decided she was going to decide what I eat and what I couldn't eat. She started to control things. She snuck liver in on a meal one time when I was in the first year of marriage, knowing I didn't like liver. She did it anyways. Made a decision without my input. She started fixing tuna salad with yogurt rather than mayonnaise without my input, knowing I didn't like yogurt. And the more she did those kind of things, we butt heads. You're in a power struggle. You see, she was disrespecting. Those aren't decisions she gets to make unilaterally. Those are decisions that belong to the relationship, the marriage. They're what I call us decisions. This red flag is when someone says, I'm going to make decisions for you and for us, and I want no feedback. That is a major red flag. That person does not care about you and only cares about them for sure. And the thing is, they're making decisions without regard for your thoughts or feelings or what the outcomes are going to be. And so that's another red flag for relationships. Number 4 red flag is when someone, your spouse, consistently treats you in disrespectful ways and with ill will. The word respect means to value and honor another person. Whenever you devalue or dishonor someone, you see, you're treating them disrespectfully. When you treat someone with value and honor, you're treating them respectfully. To try and to control someone is disrespectful. To cut someone off when they're talking because you want to say something is disrespectful. To name call, disrespectful. Do nothing that seeks to control, invalidate, or demean another person. It's disrespectful. Goodwill has to do with benevolence towards another person. In other words, goodwill basically means that whatever I do, I don't seek to hurt you, harm you, tear you down, invalidate you. Everything I do seeks to better you. But one of the things that goodwill always does is when you engage with someone, if you're a person of goodwill, when you engage with them, basically they will always walk away feeling better about themselves and their relationship because of you. Why? You're there to make sure you don't create harm, that they walk away with more positive emotions in that moment, you see, and there was an exchange. If you treat people with ill will, you are dishonoring them. You're basically saying, I'm not going to be benevolent towards you, and I will hurt you. You see, to treat someone with ill will, they're going to walk away with hurt, not peace. And they're going to walk away feeling invalidated or negated or controlled, but you don't care because ill will won't care. And when someone treats you on a regular basis with disrespect and ill will, that's a warning sign. That's a major shot across the bow, as we would say in the Navy. It's like boom, and here comes this shell, and it's like saying it, wake up, danger ahead. There's a threat. But if you're not willing to look at the threat and notice the threat and honor the threat, nah, that says a lot more about you that you would stay in a relationship with somebody who treats you that way on a regular basis. If a person constantly treats you that way on a regular basis with no remorse or regret, that's a warning sign. That's a red flag. And the last of the 5 relationship red flags is this one. Folks, if someone's doing a lot of things that are red flags and something in your gut tells you this is not a safe person, I shouldn't open up, I need to beware. Trust your gut. There are many people whose gut warned them about something, but they thought it in a different way. My gut said don't, but I thought, oh, well, but you know this and this and this. So they think it, and by their thinking, they invalidate what their gut's telling them. There is what's called gut thinking. All right? Trust it. Sometimes you better trust your gut because something at the instinctual level, spiritual in there as well, is telling you, be careful, don't trust, don't go that way with that person. But you tend to want to think it away and you follow through with your thinking only to find out you should have listened to your gut in the first place. When you're starting to feel uncomfortable around this person on a regular basis, listen to your gut. That's a warning sign that this is not healthy. This is a harmful person. You know, there's a lot of people today who would tell you, particularly women, that you need to stay in abusive relationships. People who treat you with disrespect, who tear you down and bash you, who are always talking about themselves, who care less about you, even move to severe cases of emotional abuse and mental abuse, and maybe even physical abuse. And they'll tell you to stay in it. I'm here to tell you something. If you're living with a person who is these red flags, you can decide to divorce or not. What I'm telling you is separate and get safe. You do not need to stay in an unsafe environment with an unsafe person. If that person is not willing to shape up and grow up and become healthy, mature, get away. Allow yourself to heal from them and make some decisions for yourself that are healthy and wise. Some people say, well, particularly in the church setting, you know, God hates divorce. I agree. But what matters more is not that you don't divorce, it's that love reigns. Some of these folks are more concerned about not divorcing, but excuse the person being unloving and uncaring and unkind. I find that problematic because it's very clear in Scripture. It doesn't say the greatest of these is not divorcing. So the greatest of these is love. I have found on my own journey, and that's what we do in Relate Well, is we teach people how to have healthy relationships by being healthy, mature persons themselves. That's about emotional regulation. That's about not being triggered into defensiveness on a regular basis. You see, you can regulate those emotional triggers that come from the lower order animal brain. You're able to take the deep breath and still treat people with goodwill and respect. You recognize that it's not all about you, but it's all about the people in front of you. You see, you're not always snapping at people. You can have them. You can be frustrated and still treat people with goodwill and respect. That's maturity. But when you are in your own emotional distress and you start treating people on a regular basis with ill will and disrespect, that says a lot more about your character. One of the things that I've come to realize is for myself, even though there may be struggles around, I'm going to find joy. I'm going to find peace. I'm going to find gratitude. Why? Because in the end, I dictate whether I let someone control how I feel. In other words, I would rather be a person who learns to respond to issues rather than react to issues. Reacting is visceral, it's primal. It's this brain down here. Responding is thoughtful. It requires self-control and self-awareness. And then you make a decision that's mature. Much better way to live life and much better way to handle conflict as well. There was just an explosion outside, and I need to go figure out what that was here in a minute. So, we're going to wrap this up by saying, folks, these are 5 relationship red flags. Be aware of them. And if this person does not change or will not change, they put you in a position to have to decide what you want to do with that. Thanks for tuning in for another Relate Well with Dr. Rick Marks. And by the way, if you want to join me next week on the Couples Communication Challenge during National Marriage Week, starting February 7th through the 14th, we're going to have some free classes coming up next week. Go to the website, The Couples Communication Challenge, the couplescommunicationchallenge.com. Register there. Free classes next week during National Marriage Week. And at the end of that week, we're going to have a special offer. Take care. Have a great weekend, everybody.